Law of attraction. I want to give you kind of the basic primer course on what it is and how it works, at least how I think it works and how it works for me. We are like little radios, and we attune to the channel that we want to listen to, just like in our car radio. We change the channel according to what we want to listen to. The way that channel is changed is basically what we focus on, what we think about, what we pay attention to in our lives. And we are constantly adjusting our spot on that radio dial, our frequency, if you will. It goes up and it goes down. And everything that we do throughout every day of our lives, every minute, we're constantly adjusting our frequency. I thought about it this morning as I was out walking the dogs. Even just looking off at the scenery in the distance was raising my frequency up a little bit. So we're going along, we're paying attention to happy things, we're feeling pretty good, and then suddenly something happens that makes us feel really sad or angry or disappointed or frustrated or fearful. And it's something that was completely outside of us. And that when that happens, we experience feelings that don't feel so great, but we can't not experience them. They're part of being alive. And those feelings are amplified, and they kind of adjust our dial down a little bit. So when we're experiencing things that aren't great, our radio dial gets changed. And we're feeling the sadder emotions, the negative emotions maybe. And they're part of the human experience, and that's okay. But so we understand what's happening, we have tuned our dial down a bit, and now we're going to be pulling in the songs that are being played on that station. We're going to be pulling in the things that match the frequency of where we now are. You can only hear what's being broadcast on the station that you're tuned into. So that's why when something bad in our lives happens, and I put bad in quotation marks because that's a whole other discussion, but when something that doesn't feel so good to us happens, our radio dial gets tuned to a different channel, and it often can seem like suddenly there's a domino effect. Bad things come in threes, people say. When one bad thing happens, it can start this cascade of disasters or mini disasters. This is how we get into these little ruts in life that we can't get out of. So it happens. It happens to all of us. It happens no matter how highly attuned we think we are or what channel we are usually listening to. It happens. Things happen. And when we recently lost our Daisy dog after 7.5 years, she had a wonderful life. She was the best dog ever. And she was an English Mastiff, and some of you have seen her pictures on my pages and websites. She's a big part of our lives. And when we lost her in the best possible way, she didn't have any pain, she didn't have any suffering. She kind of started slowing down the last year of her life and just peacefully just passed away in her sleep one night from something that could have been a lot worse and a lot more unpleasant and given her a lot more suffering and anguish. But she went beautifully. She had the best death a person could wish for, or a dog. So even as healthy as an attitude as we all have here about the death experience and our very, very firm beliefs that, it's an illusion, there's no such thing as death. We know she still exists. We know she's still with us. She's been showing us quite often. But even with that, we grieved. And that's normal, and that's okay. So we grieved. So we tuned our radio dial down a little bit. And we were at a different station, one we hadn't been listening to in a while. And we started pulling in things that were being played on that station. So they were things that matched the frequency of awful. We just felt awful. And so we were there in awfulness, feeling awful, and all that could happen was a bunch of awful stuff. So we had a whole lot of unpleasant experiences come around. We had the septic tank broke, and then the well was contaminated, and then the deck had to be torn off, and then the foundation had damage. So we had this cascading effect, and it gave me really the reason to want to sit down and think about this. Okay, why is this happening? How is this happening? Well, this is why. Because we were sad, and we were grieving, and we felt awful, and so our dial was attuned to awful, and so we're now listening to awfulness, and that's what we got. So we knew what had happened, we knew, and it was okay. And we talked about how sometimes a forest fire has to come along, and this was far from one. We've experienced disasters like that way back in the past, but this really wasn't that bad. She passed, it's normal, it happens, and we had a few household emergencies that had to be dealt with. So we pulled ourselves back, and we started taking it in, and we started thinking about how a forest fire has to come along and wipe out everything, and how it fertilizes the ground, and how it just paves the way for the most lush, abundant period of growth that particular patch of earth has ever seen. So there's always a good part. There's always, I guess it's silver linings. There's always the upside. Whenever the forest fire comes and a bunch of bad stuff happens, well, this is how we grow. If you're not growing, you're dead. And if things are really, really good for a long, long time, you kind of get complacent, and maybe you're pretty content where you are and you're not growing all that much. Now you do. You really do, because all day, every day, everywhere we go and everywhere we look, we're going to see a variety of things we like and things we don't like. And by every time we see something we don't like, we create an improved version, unless we focus on it. So we were on the wrong frequency. We realized what we were doing. We realized what we had done, and we decided to, try to gently pull ourselves back. And as soon as we did and started really enjoying this home that we have created, and we started going swimming every day in the pond, and we started planting a whole lot of plants. It all started with the daisies we planted in Daisy's honor around one of our little oak trees. And from there, we just went crazy, and we just started enjoying life more and more. And also shifting our focus from the little mini disasters that had popped up all around us to the other side of each of those mini disasters. So we now have a septic system that will probably never need to be touched again in our lifetimes, aside from, the routine maintenance. We now have a well 135 feet deep through solid stone that is running at a rate of 30 gallons per minute into the well. So it's a wonderful water source. It's fresh, clean, sweet water. It's better water than we've ever had here. We used to gripe all the time that you couldn't take a shower and at the same time as you were running the dishwasher, or God forbid you're in the shower and someone flushes the toilet somewhere else in the house. It's a disaster. So, and we griped about that a lot. And by the way, everything you've ever bitched about, you have actually created more of, because thoughts are things, and where your focus goes, that isn't just out there nothingness, that is reality. So we griped and griped and griped about our water pressure since we've lived here, really. And so when our frequency got down to that level where it matched that griping, we pulled in the water disaster. But that then forced us to address it. Instead of just griping about it, fix it. So we did, and now we have better water than we've ever had. Every time you slide into one of those dark times, and they're natural and they're okay, but it's also the fertilization. It's the most powerful force for the best, fastest, most significant growth periods of your life. They always come after these dark moments. So everything after the little cavalcade of misfortunes ends up being way better than everything before. And we were pretty good before. But on the flip side, it's even better. So that's what growth is. And that's how growth happens. And that's what really we're here for. We're here on beautiful planet Earth. Aren't we lucky? And we're here and we're experiencing everything. The things we like and the things we are not so fond of. And we get to sift and sort through it all and choose the things that we want in our lives. And those are the things we pay attention to. Now, the higher you tend to stay, the higher your kind of set point, the less low those lows are going to be, and the more quickly you're going to bounce back from them. Okay? So we are constantly, with every breath, with every second of life, we are constantly choosing. We're looking around, we're seeing, we're choosing. I'm looking at the bluebird instead of the crow. I'm looking at a particular cloud in the sky that has a funny formation that I find interesting. I'm thinking about, or am I looking at CNN? Am I looking at MSNBC and the political bickering? Am I looking at that? Is that the frequency I'm going to tune in today? Is that the kind of thing I want to be playing on my station? Or am I going to spend my morning looking at the sunrise and listening to the birds and sitting by the waterfall and basking in the sunshine? And not everybody can do that every morning. I can't either when I'm on deadline. So the thing then is to make the very, very best of whatever it is you're doing. To be in the most positive place that you can be, no matter what your situation and what you're doing. To find things to like about the job you hate. Because when you're broadcasting I like this, I like this, I like this, you get more of that. And so you're going to end up with a job you love. You see, it's reverse of the way we behave. We tend to react to what we see instead of choosing what we pay attention to. So we had the cavalcade of disasters, and we have come back out of them. And when we did, our Daisy started kind of letting us know she was here. We were standing by the pond one morning, and we were talking about Daisy and how much she would have loved it now that the pond is finished and it's swimmable and we're in it all the time. She was a water dog, and she would have just loved the pond. And we were talking about how much she would have enjoyed this. And then I said, well, she is enjoying it. Look. And we looked down, and there was a daisy growing in the water. It was 4 inches, the base was 4 inches below the surface of the water, and there was this big, beautiful daisy, bright daisy. And sitting at its base, camouflaged within the leaves, was a little frog staring at us. And that frog was there every day for 3 days. Daisy loved frog hunting. She was a frog. She'd chase him and chase him and chase him, and she never hurt him. She'd pick him up and carry him around for a little while, and she'd let him go. So that was definitely a message. I'm sure of it. And the times when you can get those messages are the times when you're back on your frequency that you like, when you're up at the higher frequencies, because that's where they are on the other side. They're not down. They never getting down anymore. Yeah, they're always up at the higher frequencies. So that's where we have to be to meet them. So this is the basic premise. This is what I've been talking about. This is the basic premise of law of attraction. It's that we are walking around all day, every day, not realizing that we're glowing with energy. And that energy is also not only emanating from us, but it's attracting its exact likeness to us. So whatever we are, we become more of. It's like life is a mirror, and it can only show you what you show it. So everything around you is you. It's a reflection of you. So the reason this is so important to know is because once you know it, you can really change your life. You can start being aware of where your radio is tuned, what you're paying attention to, what are you broadcasting? What's your favorite topic of conversation these days? What is the thing you talk about with your mom on the phone or your daughters? In my case, lots of daughters. What's the topic? Are we going to gripe about who had the worst week? Or the raise in the property tax, or the politics, God forbid? Or are we going to talk about what's going right? What's going really beautiful in our lives? What we're so grateful for? Gratitude is the purest energy there is besides love. And they're kind of the same thing.